Okay, we've all heard the stories about King Solomon, right? This legendary kingdom of insane wealth and wisdom. But what if we could peel back the layers of myth and just look at the evidence? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're diving into the ancient records to piece together what this kingdom was really like. So, what does a kingdom like that actually look like? In reality? To figure that out, we're not going to rely on old stories or hearsay. Nope, we're going straight to the source. We're talking eyewitness accounts, financial records, the hard evidence, to build a picture of the reality behind this incredible legend. All right, our first piece of evidence. It's not some dusty old scroll. It's something way more powerful, an eyewitness account. And not just any eyewitness. We're talking about a queen, a powerful ruler who traveled a huge distance for one reason and one reason only, to see if the stories about Solomon were the real deal. So just imagine this scene. The Queen of Sheba, a major ruler in her own right, rolls into Jerusalem. And look, this isn't just a friendly visit. The records are clear. She came to test him with hard questions. She's basically here to fact-check the legend. And she shows up with this massive caravan overflowing with spices, gold, precious stones, making a huge statement of her own power. So what does it take to blow the mind of a queen who's seen it all? Well, it wasn't just one thing. It was everything. The sheer scale of it all. The palace he'd built, the food on the table, the perfect seating arrangement for his officials, even the uniforms on his servants. It was this flawless, overwhelming system of power, wealth, and order that just left her completely stunned. And here it is, her final conclusion, a direct quote from the records, and it's just, wow. She tells Solomon, "Not even half the greatness of your wisdom was told me. You have far exceeded the report I heard." Think about that for a second. The unbelievable stories she heard weren't exaggerations, they were actually understatements. Okay, so we've got a credible eyewitness who's completely sold. But you have to wonder, how is a kingdom like this even funded? How is it possible? Well, to understand that, you've got to follow the money. So let's turn to the financial records. Get this, the records say that every single year, Solomon's kingdom brought in 666 talents of gold. Now, a talent was a unit of weight, so we're talking about tons of pure gold annually. And here's the crazy part. The text makes it clear this wasn't even the total income. This was just the baseline, not counting all the money from merchants and trade. It's just staggering. So what do you even do with that kind of cash flow? Well, for a start, you order up 200 massive shields. And we're not talking gold-plated. No, these were huge shields made of pure hammered gold. They were put on display in the palace, basically as a giant, glittering statement of wealth and power. And as if 200 weren't enough, he followed that up by commissioning 300 more shields, just a bit smaller, but again, made of pure hammered gold. I mean, we are talking about a level of wealth so extreme that gold, one of the most precious metals on Earth, is being used like it's just everyday building material. And this leads to a really mind-bending economic situation. There was so much gold pouring into the kingdom that it totally warped the value of everything else. Silver, which was a symbol of wealth pretty much everywhere else, became so common in Jerusalem that the records say it was considered about as valuable as stones in the street. Just wow. But maybe nothing, and I mean nothing, captures this peak of splendor better than his throne. I mean, just listen to this description. It was made from ivory, then completely covered, overlaid with pure gold. It had 6 steps leading up to it, a golden footstool, and was guarded by lions, 2 by the armrests and 12 more on the steps. The record is very clear on this point. There was nothing like it, anywhere in any other kingdom, period. Now, wealth and wisdom on this scale, it doesn't just stay at home, right? It projects power. It gets noticed. So how did all this incredible internal splendor translate into global influence? What did that look like on the world stage? Well, it created this amazing cycle of influence. First, kings and rulers from all over the known world wanted to see it for themselves. They sought an audience with Solomon. They came to hear his famous wisdom. But then, as part of the deal, year after year, they brought gifts: gold, silver, spices, weapons, and those gifts, of course, just fueled the very wealth and splendor that drew them in to begin with. It was this powerful, self-reinforcing loop. And this influence was a two-sided coin. You had diplomatic power and raw military might. On the one hand, his diplomatic reach was huge, stretching all the way from the Euphrates River to the border of Egypt. But that was all backed up by a serious army. We're talking 4,000 stalls for chariots and 12,000 horses. So he wasn't just wise and respected, he was powerful and feared. This was a true superpower of its time. So let's recap. We've got a powerful eyewitness testimony, we've got absolutely staggering financial records, and we've got evidence of immense global influence. The final piece of the puzzle is, how long did this incredible golden age actually last? Well, the records tell us that Solomon reigned over all of Israel from Jerusalem for 40 years. 40! This wasn't just some brief flash in the pan. This was a sustained 4-decade era of peace and prosperity unlike any other. But, like all great reigns and all golden ages, it had to come to an end. The historical account wraps it up with this really simple, stark finality. Solomon rested with his ancestors, and he was buried in the city of David. The era was over. So what are we left with? The records paint this incredibly vivid picture of a kingdom literally forged in gold and guided by profound wisdom, a place where the legends were actually true, and then some. But the fact that it ended leaves us with this huge, lingering question. And it's not just about Solomon, it's about history itself. Can any golden age, no matter how bright, no matter how powerful, truly last forever?